So Kaylee and I watched some found footage. Let's discuss it. So first up, we've got Heidi. Heidi, Heidi ho.
Heidi ho.
And this is about a haunted doll.
Yep.
Right? So found footage film / evil doll film.
Yeah.
You don't get many of those.
No, you don't.
So yeah, this is about two friends who are pranksters. Booyah!
Booyah.
Booyah! And one of them goes to bird sit
Yep.
for this old lady and finds a creepy doll in her attic, which is clearly like a storage unit that they were pretending was an attic. That's fine. Use what you got.
Yes.
He brings it home with him. Or does he bring it home with him? Or just ends up at his house?
I think it just ends up at his house.
So what happens?
They don't bring it with them. At least I don't think they do.
No, they leave it up in the attic.
Yeah.
But then something happens and then it ends up at their house.
Right.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Anyways, you get the gist.
Yeah.
One of them's types of movies.
Yeah.
And, they try to get rid of the doll. You get it.
The doll keeps coming back.
Very Annabelle-esque.
Yeah.
So, overall, I am in a found footage Facebook group, and this is pretty beloved in there. And pretty much everybody who responded to the fact that I watched this was like, loved it. It's great. I definitely don't think this is great. But for a found footage film and for found footage enthusiasts who want to see anything worth their time, I definitely think this falls into the category of found footage enthusiasts. This is a good one.
Yes.
I don't think this is great, but I think this is good. It's a fine watch. It's good for what it is.
Yeah. I had a good time watching it. Overall, I think that it was a pretty competently made film.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially for how low budget it was. I enjoyed the performances from everybody. I think that they were good, you know. And the doll.
No.
Well,
I'm not with you on
There's
that.
one performance, I guess, that I
think
was
the acting is overall just very, very amateur.
Well, yeah,
and it hurts the
it
film
is
for
amateur, but I thought it was a good amateur because we've watched a couple movies, before this that had really, really bad amateur acting.
Sure.
And I didn't find that to be the case in this. There's a couple moments where lines are delivered a little awkwardly or whatever, but overall I bought the characters.
Okay.
I thought that was accomplished, and I think that's important with found footage. It didn't feel 1,000% natural, but it also didn't feel 1,000% fake. So it was somewhere kind of in the middle for me. But besides that, I also like the look of the doll. I think that the doll was pretty creepy looking.
Yeah.
And I like all the gags with the doll too. I think that those are done well. And I don't know. I enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed it.
To respond to a couple of things you said there, as far as the acting goes, it's definitely on the lower end of the spectrum, but nowhere near the trash we were watching recently. I mean, some of the stuff we watched before this was so horrendous.
Yeah.
That's on a totally different level. This is barely passable. Where I was okay, the kids are definitely forcing their lines. But as far as the acting goes, I will say the two best actors in this, easily, and I'm not kidding, is a 2 or 3 year old little girl who somehow is fantastic in this.
She's so good.
She's has moments where she has to freak out and cry and try to leave the house and stuff. That was 100,000% genuine.
So real. I was what do they do?
I was what are they beating this kid? And
yeah,
they're it's for art. It's okay.
And then
the second one is the dog.
Yeah, Kuja.
Because the dog also had to act like afraid of things and like go over here and not want to do certain things. And it really acted like it was afraid of those things. And it acted the way that it needed to act. That was very believable. Like I felt that dog was afraid of this thing.
Yeah.
Or like, I don't want to be anywhere near these things. And once again, these are two like innocent, non-actors who give these incredible performances. So I'm sitting there like, what'd they do to these kids? I'm just kidding. They didn't do anything to them.
I definitely wonder if the dog maybe has more of like a scared type of personality, so it works well. But it definitely really works with the film. And the little girl was adorable and
very, very cute.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I don't want to harp on anyone's performances. I find everyone's performance to be about the same for me. They're all just kind of like a little forced. And it definitely would take me out of the realism of the movie. And then as far as like Kaylee was saying about the doll, I found the doll gags to get tiresome.
Oh, did you?
I found them to be pretty repetitive until the very last like 5 seconds of the movie, which of course changes things up, and I applaud them for that because that was very cool. But there's also another element of this film that I found to be kind of odd, and I don't think I've ever actually seen this done or ignored in a movie before. You can consider this a spoiler if you want, but it's not really a spoiler because there's nothing to spoil with it outside of the letdown that it is. There's just kinds of things that are like almost forgotten in this movie that are set up, because there's a scene where he records EVP.
Yeah.
And then that's it. He just records it and we never hear about it again. Yeah. And I was like, are you going to play back the recording? Yeah. And are we going to catch any voices? Or like, that was a very bizarre moment. But there is some clever stuff in here.
Yes.
With his footage and, him trying to prove it. Yeah. I'll say that. I don't want to spoil anything, but I thought that was clever. And of course, there's a very low budget here, so you got to become clever for that kind of stuff. So, and I would also like to point out if you want to talk about the most unrealistic thing in this entire film, it is this house party that some kid throws where they literally have a bouncer and like a guest list. I was like, wait, what is happening here? You ever been to a high school party where there's a bouncer at the door with a friggin' guest list in like a regular suburban middle class town? This isn't like, these kids aren't like rich, wealthy kids that are playing with daddy's freaking Monopoly money. I'm talking about like normal families. A kid throws a party and there's a literal bouncer at the door with a guest list, and he's like checking people in, and people are like waiting in line. Yeah. And I was like, what in the fuck? I have never seen anything like this in my life.
Neither have I. But
yeah, but overall it's a good movie. I'm not gonna say it's not. I think because of some of the acting, some of that stuff, it did bring it down for me, and some of the recycled looping of like, running out of what to do with the doll, kind of does the same thing over and over and over again. Other than that, I think this is a very ambitious film for what it was. And they went to a lot of different locations. They had a lot of different ideas that they tried to put down.
Actors too, absolutely. Honestly, like different roles, and it's very ambitious.
So once again, I say this in a lot of our reviews for found footage films. This is for found footage enthusiasts only. If you're somebody who does not like found footage movies, this isn't for you. Because people who don't like found footage movies, they A, don't like the acting. Right. This ain't gonna win you over. No. B, they don't like the gimmick. This ain't gonna win you over. Right? Those just kind of the movies that's like, found footage fans need only apply. Yeah. So.
Yeah, if you're a found footage fan, it's definitely worth checking out. And, creepy dolls are creepy. They're always going to be like one of my favorite things. I love creepy dolls.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I would if they could get a budget like a little bit more of a budget, and hire a little bit better of actors, I would definitely be super down for a sequel.
Oh, sure. Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because like, I think that there's some really, especially towards the end, I don't know. I really like how there's like news footage and different stuff kind of linked in with the other footage that's in there. I think the storytelling is really solid, honestly. I think that's probably the best part of it. I think it's a solid story, and I agree with you. I think with like a little bit more of a budget, a sequel would be really cool, and I'd be really interested.
Sure, because there's a scene in this that is a juxtaposition of something like really pretty and pleasing, and then it's it's in contrast to like news reports of like death and stuff.
Yeah.
And the way that that's like edited together, that's pretty cool. Like it's actually like really interesting artistic filmmaking. So stuff like that, I was like, oh, this is actually really cool. I like the way that they've done that. I've seen it, probably 100 times in my life. But regardless, it's still cool to see in a movie like this, where, we've watched hundreds of found footage films together at this point. And some of them are just like, they are just like as basic as humanly possible.
Right.
And some people like that because it adds to the realism, like Murder, Death, Koreatown, or Leaving DC, or any of those kinds of movies, or the Bad Ben movies, or the Blackwell Ghost or something like that, where Blackwell Ghost has a little bit more going on, I guess, but they're just rinse, lather, repeat movies. But yeah, anyways, this one's cool. It's just not something that I was like, oh my god, I gotta recommend this. This wouldn't make like one of my top 10 lesser known found footage films, but it's like it's close. It's right there.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's that. It's on Tubi, of course. So go check it out if you want.
Bye.